Hello, everybody. So, I'm not one to do long intros or anything, so I'm just going to get right to the content of this video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing one of the most vile movements or philosophies I have ever seen in my life. That's antinatalism. So, antinatalism is the belief that having children is morally wrong, usually because of the suffering in the world, although some of them are believing it because of the cruelty humans cause to animals or the destruction to the environment that humans cause. But generally, it's a philosophy that it's morally wrong to bring a child into the world because they will have to suffer. Now, this is just one of the most vile philosophies I have ever seen, because I have personally seen these people. I've seen them wish death on children. I've seen them make memes about giving bleach to children. I've seen a woman who was antinatalist but eventually got pregnant. I've seen them tell her that they hope that her baby dies, either through miscarriage or stillbirth, and laugh about it to her face. I'm not saying that all antinatalists go this far, but I have seen a good proportionate amount of them do that. And something that I have seen in every antinatalist I've ever met is an overall hardening in their hearts. Like, how do I explain it? So, I have a sixth sense where I can kind of sense the hearts of people. Like, I can tell if somebody's a kind, genuinely compassionate person. I can tell if they're hardened at heart. And I have felt this hardening on every antinatalist I have ever met, without exceptions. No exceptions whatsoever. I have seen these people say awful things towards parents, calling them breeders in a derogatory way, calling them selfish. And it's like these people are just so blinded that life actually has a purpose. It's not meaningless. And I can say that I am a person who feels a strong calling on my life to be a mother. I believe that God put that on my heart, and that my children have a special purpose. And I know that may be kind of something that a lot of people believe, but I really, really, really feel it so strongly. Like, it's kind of like a beyond this world type feeling. And you know what? I have experienced a lot of suffering. I've experienced a lot of bullying, a lot of exclusion. And there was a time when I was wondering, well, maybe it really is selfish to have children. Just because I was suffering so much, I was excluded more than anyone else I know. But here's the thing. I came to see that everything has a purpose, including suffering, and that God had set me apart from this world. And if you know, you know. if you don't know, you may never understand what I'm saying, but I promise you, life has a purpose. Suffering has a purpose. And this is something that the antinatalists fail to recognize. Because they say, oh, because we have to suffer, it's selfish and wrong to bring a child into the world. Well, why aren't they considering that suffering is not always a bad thing? Why aren't they considering that there can be a good and holy purpose behind it? No, I don't think that they will consider that. Because their hearts are hardened, they're blinded. However, to anyone who has ears to hear, I want them to just hear me out on this. At its core, antinatalism is the philosophy that life is meaningless. Nothing could be further from the truth, however, and I'm a living testimony that the idea that life is meaningless is not true at all. At all. Think about it. Is our ability to breathe, to look up at the stars, to feel the fresh air, to think, to feel, to just exist, is all of that without a purpose? Is our very existence meaningless? This miracle of existence. And don't tell me that it's not, because when a woman is pregnant, a single cell develops into a full-term baby in just a matter of months. That is a miracle. And it's something that we know that there has to be a divine purpose there. How could anyone just be so blind to this? Like, it's something that I know that people are blind to it, but as someone who's very in tune with the spiritual things and has this strong, like, knowing in my heart about these things, it's hard for me to understand how someone could just look at this and say, it's meaningless, it's selfish, throw it out. What? What? It's just the saddest thing that people have this mentality. Like I said, the hardening is just blinding these people. And these people will always say, well, children can't consent to being born. Well, here's the problem. It's under the assumption that if they could hypothetically choose, they would choose not to be here. Because whether you have a child or you don't have a child, you are making that decision for them. Okay, and so when you don't have a child, you're also assuming that they shouldn't be born. And so they really can't consent either way. That decision is completely in the hands of the parents. But where the antinatalists go wrong is that they assume that the decision should always be not to have them, which is obviously proven wrong through the fact that life is meaningful. And something these people will say is, reproduction is selfish. There is no reason for having children that is not selfish. Really? Because this is where they're getting the wrong definition of selfishness, okay? Yes, people typically have children because they want to have children. You know, for whatever reason they want to have children. You know, whether they want someone to love and nurture, they want their family line to continue. Whether they feel a strong calling towards parenting, whatever the reason, people do it because they want to have children, usually. Okay, sometimes people do have unwanted pregnancies, but that's not all the time. So, where they get this wrong is they're defining the word selfish wrong. Selfish does not mean doing something because you want to, okay? Just because you have a desire to do something and you want to do that, that does not mean that that's selfish. Selfish is acting out of your desires for an immoral reason. Like you want to do something immoral and you have the wrong intent in acting on your desires. That's what selfish means. It is not do any decision that you ever make because you wanted to make that decision. And so I feel like that's what they forget. And so what it comes down to, if we're asking if it's selfish or not, it comes down to, is it morally wrong? Well, of course the antinatalists are going to say, yes, it is morally wrong, but they cannot have an objective moral standard. You have to go to God to get an objective moral standard, and God does not say that reproduction is wrong. These people just forget that parenting can be a very selfless thing. Parents make a lot of sacrifices for their children, and, not everyone is going to be the best parents. But that doesn't mean that having children is inherently selfish. These people need to find something better to do than just talking about how life is meaningless and we shouldn't be here. It's like, yeah, I can empathize with your pain because, I've sometimes wished I wasn't here at times during my life. But the fact is, you have been born and you gotta make the best of it. And I think these people are just projecting their own depression onto the world. I really think they're projecting. And these people, I'm gonna be honest, they do have a lot of selfishness and hardness in their hearts. And I think that they're projecting that and making it seem like, well, people that have children are the selfish ones. Look, if you don't want to have children, that's your choice. But I am so tired of people saying that it is morally wrong to have children, that anyone that has children is selfish. I'm so tired of this. This is just truly one of the worst philosophies I have ever seen in my life. And I'm just telling it like it is. I just have never seen an antinatalist that did not have a hardening on their hearts. And yeah, I can sense when people are hardened. I swear I can. It's like the sixth sense. And they all have that. Yeah, not all of them are the worst of the worst of the worst. Like, there are different levels. But all the ones that I've seen have had hardened hearts. So I cannot sit here and respect this movement that says one of the most beautiful things in the world, childbearing, is wrong and selfish. I have no respect for that. And yeah, it's just a horrible thing. And I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but if I was gonna cancel something, that's what it would be. But I know that life has a purpose. I know that life is not meaningless. And I know that childbearing can be a beautiful thing. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise just because some people miss it.